DeMar and Zach are going to be there for the Bulls. Always. They're like a solid 60 points a game for this team. They also hold the tiebreaker against the Raptors, who are right under them in the 6th spot. It's kind of an unavoidable stat. The Bulls are 0-17 against top 3 teams in both conferences. And I've watched a lot of those games. They got blown out by the Warriors twice. They got blown out by the Bucks, I think twice. They seem to lose against a lot of good teams, which kind of stinks for them. It's also they've been injured. Guys have been in and out. Vooch wasn't there at the beginning of the season, and then he came back, and then you had to work Vooch in, and then Lonzo was out, and then Caruso was out, and then DeMar turned into Will Chamberlain. So it's been a very interesting season. And then Caruso came back, and then Grayson Allen said nah, and he clotheslined him. And it was I really had high hopes for the Chicago team. They were at the top of the conference for a while, and they do have their next game is the Bucks on Tuesday, and they just lost to the Heat. 2 top 3 teams in their conference. So we'll see. They have 4 games. I think they have to win 2 of those games, and Toronto has to lose 2 for them to stay out of the play-in. Because if Cleveland wins their next 3, then they'll be ahead of them. It's really confusing because Cleveland has the tiebreaker against the Raptors, but then the Bulls have the tiebreaker against the Cavs.
Do you think that Lonzo has that much of an impact on the team, where if he's out or if he comes back, they start beating these good teams?
I don't know, man. I hope so.
Because I don't know if he has that big of an impact. If you're 0-17 against...
Wow. I thought you were a Lonzo Ball fan.
I love Lonzo, bro. But if you're 0-17 against the top 3 teams in both conferences, you can't just say that it's
the Lakers
because that Lonzo wasn't there.
Conferences.
What?
I don't think we'll really grasp how much impact Lonzo has until he comes back. Partially because I look at Lonzo and Caruso as rim protectors almost.
Rim protectors?
You know okay, I know. So they basically deter guys from getting to their spots. And a lot of their spots, if you were Donovan Mitchell and they had Lonzo on you, Lonzo's job is to keep you out of the paint. He'll give you whatever else you want, because that's the game plan for Chicago when they had Lonzo and Caruso. And they have 2 guys that can attack the ball. Lonzo and Caruso could both switch on to big guys. They both grab a ton of steals. A lot of transition opportunities are made from that. The Bulls are playing super slow right now, and that's because they don't... I think that's a big part, is that Lonzo's not there. But then again, we can't gauge the value of a guy who hasn't been there in 3 months. If Chicago's only hope is just banking on the fact that a ball brother comes back to come help them, I think that's a bit far-fetched. But it also, you kind of just have to get your defense together, and if Lonzo's what does that, then I guess you kind of just have to hope for that. DeMar's production hopefully sustains throughout the playoffs, because historically it has not. That's kind of where he's hit his struggles a lot of the time. But he doesn't have to play LeBron this year, so it might not happen.
I would say for the Bulls, I think if they want to make it out of the first round, they're going to want to play the Sixers instead of the Bucks. So I think the spot that they're in right now... Do you think they can beat the Sixers
in a 7-game series?
I would rather take the Sixers over the Bucks, to be honest.
I would take any team besides to play the Bucks. That's all I don't want to do. I don't want to play the Bucks. I don't want to play the Celtics either.
Right now, where they're sitting at in the 5th spot is where they want to be, but obviously it very much could change. Their seed very much could change in the next couple games. So I think their best case scenario is playing the Sixers, even though that's a pretty tough team. But Harden, knowing Harden, he might choke in the playoffs. So that's what they should hope for.
It's kind of make it or break it at this point for them. This is a Chicago team. They have to re-sign Zach LaVine in the offseason. I think he'll come back, but they have to re-sign Zach LaVine. They have to figure out what their plans are, because obviously I think they kind of have to forget about this season, going forward, especially what could have been. I think you kind of just have to reassess, see what you have here, see how much value Vooch is going to have for the next 2 years, because that's kind of your window for how good you're going to be, and how DeMar's on the wrong side of 30 right now. So you have to keep that in mind. Lonzo, Zach LaVine, and Caruso, I think, should all be keepers. I don't think that's in question. I think Vooch is definitely a question mark. Defensively, it's kind of been a big problem. And then shooting-wise, he hasn't been this good. He's had stretches where he's good, and he's had stretches where he's not. And you can't even abuse what Vooch has against a team like the Bucks, because Brook Lopez basically does the same thing. And also, you have to have an interior guy against Giannis, which they don't have. Watching Giannis against the Bulls earlier in the season, it was a massacre. It was bad. So I think maybe just just acquiring more like diverse wings and like a big guy like in the middle that's like that can really just deter shots for you. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about their off-season plans. Like I'm talking about their season's over, but I don't see them making it past the second round, at least right now. As much as I like this team, as much as I like Billy Donovan as a coach, Billy Donovan also gets the award for drippy as coach. He has his chain like like out like during the games, which is so wild.
Way.
Yeah, I like the Chicago team. I just don't know what their ceiling is, but I do know it's not above the second round, just because of how packed this Eastern Conference is. Like if the Chicago team was in last year's Eastern Conference, they may have gone a little bit farther.
You mean they may go a little bit farther?
Yeah, that's what I meant to
Because
say.
it hasn't
Yes.
happened yet, you know.
Yes, you're right,
It could.
Dennis.
You never know.
You never know.
Could be,
They might be the Atlanta Hawks of last year.
they might be the NBA champions.
You know, I mean, I can see anybody from like 1 to 4, and maybe I guess
Anything can
1 to
happen.
1 to 4, and then like the 10th seed becoming like NBA champions.